Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we're going to take a look at the E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof.
Yes, sir.
Dustin, this is a bottle that my buddy Adam, as you know well, one of the bottles he sought after quite a bit. This is one of his favorite bourbons. This particular one comes in at 64.85% ABV. Not an easy bottle to get. Fortunately, both you and Adam were both able to get this bottle a couple times over, but I tell you what, these are a challenge.
Yeah, I was just streaming with Big League Bourbon, and he had a guest on who's another former Major League Baseball player, and they were talking like, what's your unicorn? What are you chasing after? And this bottle got brought up. I mean, this is a $70 bottle of bourbon, retail. Mm-hmm. As you can also tell, I've had this one for a while. This is not one of the new releases. No. And if you're paying really close attention, you'll notice that the cap on the top of that one is not the same color as the rest because the cork failed on me on the original.
It happens, man. Cork fails happen all the time.
So I've got the small batch cork on there.
Cork fails usually happen on the best whiskeys.
Yeah, it doesn't happen on a bottle you don't care about.
No, never. All right, so Dustin, nice traditional dark caramel.
Yeah, it's
bourbon.
not
A little darker.
Actually, truth be told, this is probably light compared to some of like the Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs or the Stag Juniors.
Sure.
But it's definitely dark for a bourbon.
Sure. I'm right there with you.
It's just apples, man. That's like right away. It just.
I was gonna say orchard, but yes.
Yeah. I mean, actually, you know what? I'm even getting a little like cider note.
Yeah. My goodness.
Has that classic. There's something that they found on these E.H. Taylors. I mean, it's mash bill 1. It's the same mash bill as all the other Buffalo Trace, most of the other Buffalo Trace products, the famous ones. Mm-hmm. But there's just something about the nose on these that, like, there's this oak character that is just E.H. Taylor's oak. It's a lighter oak. It's not heavy. It's not assertive.
I agree.
And it's even softer than, like, because Stag still doesn't have an aggressive oak to it. It actually has a very clean, nice smelling oak. Mm-hmm. But this is, like, softer. It's almost like baby powdered down or something,
I always described it, you touched on it. I always described it as a soft wood. Mm-hmm. Almost spongy in smell. But I've also thought that E.H. Taylor always smelled clean to me, too.
Extremely. Honestly, it's orchard, like you said.
Yeah.
That nice, smooth, it's almost like they put like some baby powder on oak or something to like give it that note, and then
You're also like some powder in the air.
I'm getting a little bit of, a couple different notes of oak, and really, Mike,
nice caramel.
Little caramel in here, yeah, but it's not a super aromatic whiskey. I mean, when you think 64, you're expecting to just have it blasting at you, and it's never been that way. It's actually very clean, and I don't get a lot of alcohol.
The thing is, no, you don't get a lot of alcohol. It smells extremely clean. Whenever I nose a whiskey, especially if it's cask strength, I kind of start a little bit further in the Glencairn. But this one, man, you really got to get in there and dig.
You go right all the way in. Yeah.
Don't be afraid. There's not. It's almost like whatever flavors are there, maybe a few of them you're just not picking up.
Yeah, and again, this obviously, as you guys can see, it's been open for a while. It hasn't lost anything here. It's just always been this very inviting, pleasant nose.
Yeah, a whiskey that you wouldn't guess its ABV if you nose this blind within 5%. I bet.
Buddy,
Maybe
I would be
10.
telling you 45 to 50.
Yeah, I mean, I would say 50.
I would be probably guessing 50 just because I do notice there's like not alcohol, but there's a viscosity here that just makes me think it's heavier.
If you dig down deep, yes, you can feel that it smells dense. But it's not easy to pick. It's almost like it almost reminds me of some Glendronach single casks. What I mean by that is it almost has that coal note that almost feels cool. Mm-hmm. It almost feels like the ABV is a little bit more approachable, even though those are all cask strength 55, 58, whatever they might be. There's something very reminiscent about that. The baby powder comment you made earlier, though, is interesting because it almost feels like when you dig deep, you land softly, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It's almost like the moon landing.
Yeah, when you really dig in there, I do notice a little bit of like a response in my nostrils where they're noticing that there's some higher alcohol notes there. But even then, it's not offensive. It's just like, oh yeah, I noticed my nostril is kind of taking on that little bit of a response.
Very soft. This should be someone's first cask strength whiskey.
That'd be this would be a great example. You're right, because it's just so easy. I mean, there's 45% bourbons out there that do not smell and nose this soft and just gentle.
How old is this whiskey?
So I believe what I'm hearing is around 6 to 8 on these barrel proofs. It's generally kind of what the expectation is. The single barrels get up in the 10, 11 range. But so my guess is it's probably 6, 7.
Okay. Now, as we're noticing it is caramel notes coming up. Spice is coming up. Mm-hmm. Sweetness is coming up.
Yeah, you're getting a little bit of that corn note as well, yeah. Sweet corn.
Almost like the lacy husk from it. Mm-hmm. I'm going in.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I gotta say is, I mean, I'm definitely not nosing a whiskey that I would expect to pay hundreds of dollars for.
You can taste the ABV on the palate. Woo!
It is drying. Drying.
I mean, caramel, hot caramel, burning hot caramel. Almost like it tastes like corn cob smells. Mm-hmm. Like when when the corn you smell it like at a fair or something. Burnt, ashy, a little bit of barrel char in there. Man, it's hot, and then the spice comes in.
There's
Super
some spice
spicy.
for sure. There's a good fruit note in here that I'd actually forgotten about.
Ooh,
And it's oh man, there's a beautiful fruit in there. Maybe you'll pick it up more when you go back in
with water.
The water. But yeah, because I'm getting this really nice, whereas we were saying orchard and apples on the nose. Mm-hmm. Here it's gotten redder, more of like almost like a candy, like I don't know, some kind of kid's candy that's got like a strawberry flavor. It's not like real strawberry, but it's like a little of that. Then there is some apple still in there. I'm not sure about the hot, spicy caramel. I think there's some spicy oak on the finish.
Caramel's in there too.
Oh no. There's caramel. It's just not spicy caramel. That, to me, they were distinctly separate. Big, bold, a lot there. But I think we're going to have to go back in with water on this one, Mike, because I tell you what, you're right. I mean, the 64%, it wasn't even so much that it bit hard for me. It was that my mouth got so dry. It was kind of unpleasant.
It was just intense.
Yeah.
Especially once you swallowed, like there was some sting to it. Mm-hmm. Again, based on how it smells, you weren't expecting it.
Correct. Oh, you're not expecting anything. You're thinking
this is gonna be silky.
Yeah, you're thinking maybe this bottle's gone bad and it's just been sitting out too long.
You see now some chalky, almost like a sugar powder.
Getting cream corn.
You know what? Now that you say that,
it's actually gotten lighter.
They really have getting more of that like light powder.
I was actually hoping the water would bring out some of the nose, because
that's the same.
Usually it does.
It took that water and spit it back on our face.
I'm going in heavy, Mike, and I'm just barely getting anything, man. It's like vanilla here. There's some caramel. Again, I get that light E.H. Taylor oak, and there's just nothing else.
Because I put three or four or five good drops in here, a wallop in here.
I mean, it's nice, it's pleasant, but there's nothing special about the nose.
But against that same cool, same nose, it's like we did nothing to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it didn't care. It was like, guys, I'm 64%. You think that mattered?
Yeah, it's like if you threw a ball against a steel wall, nothing got dented. Yeah, it's the exact same nose. I hope it brought down the palate a little bit, because that palate was aggressive.
It did. Brought the oak more forward, and I'm not sure that the oak is really a great flavor here. I mean, again, I drink this and I instantly think E.H. Taylor, which has been a bourbon that I've always thought was really nice as kind of your budget bourbon step up.
Sure.
So you've just, I always thought like Buffalo Trace was your sipper's budget bourbon.
Okay.
So, you buy something less expensive than that if you're mixing. Mm-hmm. Buffalo Trace it's that budget bourbon, 20-something bucks. And then, maybe you go to Eagle Rare to mix it up. The E.H. Taylor was always like, okay, I want something a little more oomph. I want to go to 100 proof. That's kind of, where E.H. Taylor always sat for me. And this is just kind of an amped up version of that in terms of proof. But I mean, this isn't like Elijah Craig barrel proof, where they obviously went out and found the best barrels possible and said, oh, we're only going to use our best barrels. We're going to make sure these are 12 years. The other stuff's no longer 12. We're keeping those 12. So we kind of got spoiled by I think Jack Daniels does the same thing, where they do their barrel-proof single barrels, and I think they pick the best barrels for that program.
Those blue labels are some nice whiskeys.
Whereas this is just a barrel-proof E.H. Taylor.
Nothing special about it, cash-wise, you don't think?
I don't think so, no. I think, they just, some they choose to be barrel-proof, some they don't, and that's really about it.
Adam will tell us.
Yeah, but comment down below, guys, if you know more than we do on that. But I just
Yeah, so you said this is hard to get for sure, but you said this was roughly $70 MSRP?
roughly 70 is about what I paid.
So what does the H. Taylor, what does Elijah Craig Barrel Proof go for?
Well,
65-ish?
they
about the same.
just raised the prices on the last batch.
Yeah, I just got it. Me and Adam just
So
picked a couple up.
I think here in Ohio, maybe we're still getting lucky at the 65. I think I paid
I think you're right.
70 recently. So
They're about the same.
between 60, 70, and this one's probably 70 to 80 at retail.
Okay, so we're talking $10, $15 difference.
5, 10, 15, yeah.
I prefer the Elijah Craig.
Not even close for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How about Stag Junior?
I prefer Stag Jr.
Yeah, same here. So I'm a little surprised that this one actually of the three is probably the most sought after.
Hardest to get.
Stag Junior is becoming really tough to get, but this
I'm
one,
saying traditionally.
but this one also they only release this once a year, whereas they release Stag 3 times a year. So there's a lot more opportunity to get a Stag Junior.
That's true. That's true. Where as far as the whiskey score?
I'm kind of going back and forth with 2 numbers here, Mike. What do you think? I mean, I'm going to take a ponder this one in one more sip.
I was between 85 and 86. I'm going to go 86. It's got flavor. It's got some oomph to it. It doesn't have a lot on the nose.
That
The
nose is killing me.
I think it's interesting. It's different, but it's not like, okay, so it's interesting right now. It's like watching a movie that you're going to watch one time. It's interesting.
Yeah.
The next time I'm going to think it's boring.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't have a lot of experience with this whiskey. Anyway, I'll go 86. Where are you at?
I think I'm going to stick with an 85. I was actually between 84 and 85.
I was between 85 and 86.
And the water's what actually got this to 85.
Yeah, I thought I handled it well.
It not just handled
On
it
the
well, but
palate.
it brought out a lot. There's more fruit here than I remember, which really helps this whiskey. Because otherwise, you're talking about like cream corn, oak, and vanilla and caramel. I mean, about the most basic, boring bourbon out there. But
Yeah, but there's still some good caramel.
but
in
well
this.
well executed. This is well executed. 85 is not a bad score.
What's off-putting about this whiskey to you? Almost nothing to me.
The oak finish on the palate is a
okay.
little
You're
off-putting for me.
right.
It's the thing I like the least about the H. Taylor
I agree.
series, and it's why I like the Stag Junior so much more, is because that gives me like a chocolatey, dark, like antiqued oak, whereas this is kind of like you went to IKEA.
Yeah, it doesn't compete with that single barrel we had. Wow.
No, well, it doesn't compete with the last couple batches I've had. Now, I will probably never see another Stag Junior because they've gotten that hard to get.
Bourbon wars in America.
It's insanity.
I don't know who's winning, but we ain't.
No, distilleries are winning. Have you been by any of the distilleries in the last couple of years, Mike?
Nope.
So I was near Heaven Hill maybe 6 months ago doing a pick of an Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, which we're actually going to review that pick.
Yeah, you and
Even though
Master Drum got
you guys
one.
can't, even though you guys probably can't get a hold of one, we're still going to review it just because people want to know if the single barrels that are coming out are any good.
Man, I'd love to show people what they will never have. And I'd love to watch other people show me what I'll never have. You know.
But the thing is, though, a lot of people in the whiskey community, though, who do watch these things are going to be getting those bottles. So we might actually have a lot of you guys that are, Patreons
maybe.
for Mash and Drum. And if you're not a Patreon for Mash and Drum, we were plugging ours earlier, but we'll go ahead and, Jason or Scotty, they're doing some pretty good, picks. If you were trying to get a hold of those, that's a good program.
For sure. I mean, if you're not part of Mash and Drum, you're a bourbon fan. What are you doing with your life?
Yeah, you definitely should be
What
subscribed
are
to that
you doing
guy.
with your life?
But yeah, overall, I think this is a quality bourbon, and that's why I give it an 85.
Yep.
But it's just, there's nothing special enough about this for me to really want to give it a higher score.
Yeah, I mean, again, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I mean, again, the nose isn't overly interesting, but I'm an 86 out of 100.
And I got to be honest with you guys, I picked this up probably 2-3 years ago, and I'd say all the drinking from here down has been me comparing this to other whiskeys and deciding I like them better.
Well, there it is.
So
Maybe we'll compare it against something else. Maybe we'll do Elijah Craig Barrel Proof comparison, something like that.
we at some point got to do a versus of this and a Stag Junior because it's the same mash bill, same.
Oh, you're right.
Like
for
it's
sure.
the same everything, roughly the same age.
We'll definitely do that for you guys.
So that I think is a must do.
Yeah, we'll keep that for until we
Yeah.
get to that point. All right, those are our thoughts on this particular whiskey. This E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof. Again, the one last time, this particular one is 64.85% or 129.7 proof. Just until next time, what do we wish the folks?
Happy proofy drinking.
We'll see you then. Bye.